I am final and only edit of this podcast. So I will be the person deciding everything that gets aired.
All powerful. That's perfect.
Yes, exactly. All powerful, omnipotent. That's me. I feel like I don't every time you see a story like about someone getting god powers or like a genie, they're always talking about all the drawbacks. I really don't see them. I just like if I was omnipotent, I don't think I'd have problems. I don't think the world would have problems. Like it feels like if you truly are all powerful, it feels like people aren't creative enough. They need to give writers these god powers and we'd figure it out. It'd be fine. The world would be a much better place.
I love that.
Um If We Survive the Night comes out tomorrow when this episode drops. It'll be out and you can go buy it if you're listening here tomorrow or just, if you're listening to literally any other day after that, it's out. Go get it. Before we get into questions, can you give our dear listeners an elevator pitch for the book?
Absolutely. So, If We Survive the Night is a book about 12 troubled teenage girls who are living in a locked juvenile treatment center when the zombie apocalypse hits.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, bad stuff happens. I don't think it's a spoiler zombie apocalypse story.
No,
That's not,
you learn that
that's,
pretty quickly.
yeah, I know. Yeah. And I'm like, I always look at the like blurbs, the marketing blurbs to see what actually is what people get before they get the book. And also the cover has a,
The cover kind of gives it away.
yeah. And I have questions about the book itself, but before we get to that, it's a broader question, I guess, because it is also curious to me. Like I think, and a lot of our listeners we want to know how publishing works. And even though there is no answer to that, it's random chaos and luck and all that stuff. Can you talk about, because I know you self-published this book, and then that became then it has been since picked up by source books. So can you, I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about that or how much you want to talk about that, but what can you tell me about that process, about that of first how you got it, how you self-published it, and then how it got picked up by source books?
Sure. I think I can tell you almost all of it, and feel free
Okay,
to
I don't.
ask me
Some people
questions.
are some people are more private about these things than others. I am an open book for the most part, but some people are like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about this. So I try and be sensitive.
Well, I appreciate that, but I too am an open book. I think the more information that's out there, the better we all will be. So, um, I definitely did not have a traditional path to traditional publishing. Like you said, I self published this book. The first book in this series, it is a series, came out in October in 2024. And I, the decision to self publish was pretty easy. All of my favorite zombie books were self published. And it just seemed like the right path for me. I had queried 18 agents and had an interesting experience and decided, I don't think I'll be moving further with this process. I didn't say no to traditional publishing forever, but I knew that self publishing was the right move for me this time. And it was a pretty wild year. I hustled the best I could. I got on TikTok. I got on Instagram. I, made all the silly posts and reached out to people. I popped into their DMs and said, "Hey, I wrote this book. I think you might like it based on everything else that you're reading right now." And surprisingly, a lot of them said yes. And so I mailed them free books and more books and more books and more books until I finally had what I felt like was a pretty supportive audience. Then I had this amazing woman reach out to me and she said, "Hey, I've got this book club and it's in Arkansas, and we would love to host the release party for your second book." And I thought, wow, that's wild, Arkansas. That's like 9 hours away from Chicago. But I did it. I was like, okay, yeah, we have fans. Let's go see the fans. So I went down to Arkansas to celebrate the release of my second book. And while I was down there, there was a book festival happening. And my new friend in Arkansas said, "Hey, why don't you stay for this?" And I said, "Okay, I'll stay for this." So I got a table and I sat at that table all day long. And at some point, someone came up to my table, didn't know who they were. And they said, "Hey, I've looked up your Goodreads reviews. They're pretty good." And I said, "Oh, thank you. You did your homework." And they said, "Yep, it's my job." And then they left. And I'm like, "It's your job. What does that even mean?" And it turns out that person had quite a bit of influence in the publishing world. And they ended up passing my book along to Source Books, who would ultimately become my publisher. And so it's kind of a case of, I don't want to like speak down about my book because was I incredibly lucky? Yes. Did I have the right book in the right place at the right time? I feel like I did. And that was kind of a long story, huh? That's the long story of how I got picked up by a traditional publisher.
I mean, it's not. I mean, that's. But I want to. I like hearing that. I think that's the story. That's kind of what where you're like you. Yes, having a good book is good. Yeah, obviously you need to write a good book, but it's not the only thing you have to do. You have to do lots of things, and you also have to be just like you describing that situation. You're like, I was just there, and it happened, and I got the right people saw it at the right time. uh and that's, I don't think, like, yes, it's applicable for this book, but I think it's just applicable for everything. It's just always just right place, right time. You're prepared, and you said yes. I think that's the thing I always talk about with people is like, you have an opportunity, you go, yeah, I'll try. We'll see.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll try and do it. I'll go to Arkansas.
Yes.
Which,
And that, to me, I think that has been the most important thing that that has led me where I am now is just say yes to everything. And I promised myself that for a year I would say yes to every opportunity I got. And um, I've been really fortunate and I'm so, so, so grateful. I mean, the reviews that I got from Goodreads were primarily people that I reached out to on the internet and said, "Will you read my book?" And then they told their friends. And so it's saying yes and it's saying please
yeah.
repeatedly.
Yes, I mean it's just a lot of grinding and work as well. Like, which is like, obviously, I don't know. I harp on this podcast. We're all working very hard. Most
Yeah.
writers who are working very very hard. We are not lazy. We are grinding as hard as we can. Usually have multiple jobs. I mean, you say in your afterword you wrote this book from 4 to 6 in the morning from over
Yes.
many days. And I think that's the, again, is that say, and I usually say yes until it becomes a problem. When you
Right.
literally can't do it anymore, then you're like, okay, maybe start deciding which yeses I can give out. But that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, yeah. Know your limits,
um
but
no, well, yes, and it is also the, not everyone has the same limits, which is another
true.
thing that I have to, I I'll drive myself straight into the ground because I'm a maniac. Not everyone has the endurance. Let's start. Okay, questions. Let's start real broad, and I'll narrow down. So, zombies. I have a zombie book. Uh, there's lots of zombie books. There's lots of zombie fiction. Zombies have been around now, or like vampires, like werewolves. This established monster in the canon. We all have our favorite version of them. So, when you were writing this, were you taking that into account? This massive canon of, I'm wearing a Return of the Living Dead. There's obviously The Walking Dead, which is part of the pitch for your book, but there's also, Night of the Living Dead. There's World War Z. That I could go on. Last of Us is zombie adjacent as well. Like, you could go on and on and on, and there's millions of books about them. So, do you take that stuff into account when you're writing this? Were you thinking about that canon, or you're like, I'm going to write this in a vacuum. I'm going to write the zombie story I want to write. I don't care if this piece has been done before or that piece has been done before.
Yeah, it would have been impossible for me to write this book in a vacuum because zombie books, zombie movies, zombie television, it has been such a huge part of my life for almost all my life. I saw Night of the Living Dead by accident when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and it scared the daylights out of
Which which one? The
the
original?
first one, the original,
Okay.
yes, the black and
Okay.
white, yeah, the original one. I think my friend's older brother had rented it or something, and we like watched it behind the couch. Like can,
Right.
can we catch little bits of it? Scared the daylights out of me. I went home, could not sleep for weeks, and that was my first introduction into zombies. Um, the end of the world has always been really fascinating to me. I remember reading a lot of apocalyptic books in high school, and then of course in 2003, I think it was when 28 Days Later came out, and then there was the Dawn of the Dead remake. I just couldn't get enough of it. I read every book I could get my hands on. I watched The Walking Dead, I don't know how many times. Of course, The Last of Us. So I was coming into this being, a zombie fan and knowing that I only want to write a zombie book. That's the only thing that I that I want to do. So of course, I was influenced by all of that, of course. And I didn't set out to create some, big unique zombie. I've got fast zombies. Um, they have a little bit of a unique wake up button, I guess you could
Yeah,
call it.
the sound part of it is
Hmm.
it is, I would say that is the twist on the
Yeah,
formula where you're like, if they stay dead
yeah,
until.
until they don't. Um,
Yeah.
but I didn't set out to break new ground in terms of like what a zombie is and what they do. I just love zombies.
Uh I mean it I don't know. I think it the one you'll never, if you are choosing as a person who's also written a werewolf story and a vampire book and a zombie book, when you start digging in, like you have your own version of it in your mind, you have yours, and you have also consumed so many books and movies about those things, and you have your voice obviously is the unique part of it, but also there's always like, what is the little that unique twist. And ultimately people who are reading a zombie book are people like you, people who love them, who want more of that. They are
Yes.
the people with endless appetite, and now zombies are back. There was that craze in the mid aughts, and then it kind of died off, and now it's back again. It's
I feel like
cyclical.
it's back. Yeah.
Yeah, dystopian stuff is also back.
Huge.
Apocalyptic fiction
Hmm.
is also back. Which it,
Yep.
it did the same thing. It was, with the Hunger Games and all that. It came in, was big popular. Now Hunger Games is back. It's all cyclical. We are. It's like, I think I joked about this. I record too many episodes of this podcast. I forget what I say when I said it, but I was like, I feel I more understand my parents every day, where they have seen the cycles of things come around and around and around and around, and that they're like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, wide-legged, different styles of jeans come and
Oh
go
yeah.
and come back. We're wearing JNCOs again for some reason. My teenage years were, I gotta wear jeans that I dragged through the mud for some reason.
I'm so grateful for that, honestly, the wide leg jeans trend. It's like to be able to sit in pants again.
Yeah, it's better.
Gratitude.
I don't know. I I just go, yeah, it's a marker of my age where I'm like, oh, the jeans I like are now fashionable again. I didn't change really, but the jeans I like, I can wear them without being comfortable again. Um, okay, let's talk about Quinn.
Hmm.
Quinn.
Yes.
This is a topic that I've touched upon in multiple episodes, but this is, I think, the most extreme case of how much thought you put into making a character likable, likability, that old, the you know the thing that might be very important or not, or completely meaningless. And Quinn, I think, is like the extreme end of the spectrum, where she even acknowledges, she's in a, I don't know how much we're dancing around spoilers as well. We're gonna try and avoid spoilers. The book's not out yet, technically. Um, she acknowledges like she doesn't feel human at times because she's undi- un as of the book, it is an undiagnosed personality disorder,
You can
which
say
is
it.
hinted at. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to be vague. I'm gonna stay
Yeah.
vague about it. Because that's part of the. I think it's part of the mystery of the book is figuring that stuff out alongside Quinn. But was there was that a concern as you were writing Quinn? Were you like, because obviously you're I don't know. I don't know your process, so I don't know how Quinn's personality was it. I guess that's part of the question, really. Was Quinn's personality this way from the very beginning of this book? It from the premise alone, as you were starting writing, did it come out in your drafting? And was that ever a concern at all? Oh, I need to make her sympathetic. I need. Was that a concern at all, or is it like, no, this is who she is. This is what makes the story what it is. I can't. I would say water that down. Was that a thought?
Yeah, I had all of those thoughts.
Okay.
So when I was first drafting this, I knew Quinn was my main character. I knew exactly who she would be, and I knew that she would be a little hard to love at times, and maybe all the time. um, but the funny thing is that
Just a tad.
yeah, I mean, she is in a locked juvenile treatment facility. She isn't allowed to be out in society because she has been deemed too dangerous. And so that's just who she is. But, it's like you said, those things that kept her and the other girls in the treatment center locked away, the ability to kill without remorse and lie without a tell and plan a long con, like these are the things that they're using as weapons once they get out there in the world. And I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. I think that's just that's kind of the premise of the story. I know I was a little bit vague up front in my
Yeah.
initial pitch, but these are the mechanics of the story. So when I was writing Quinn, I just wrote her as I believed she would be. I have worked in residential treatment facilities. I'm a social worker. I'm a licensed therapist, and so um, I've worked with people who have some of those quirks. And so, of course, Quinn isn't based on any individual, but she is informed by a lot of the experiences that I've had
Right.
working in facilities like this. And so I wasn't worried about how people would feel about her. I just wanted her to be herself throughout the story and let people make up their mind at the end whether they would do what she did, whether they would make the same decisions throughout the course of the story. And I think that's part of the fun is watching Quinn and who she is and just reflecting on yourself. What would I do that? Man, why did she do that? And how would I feel if this I think that's the fun of going along with her.
She is. I don't know. I would say that there is that the element of like unreliable narrator, of because she's. I like to think I have some degree of empathy, which Quinn has very little of, and it's mostly towards one person, really, not really anyone else. No, I guess Patrick. She likes Patrick too.
A little bit.
Um, yeah, a little, a tiny, a
Enough.
smidge. Yeah, enough. He's. I mean, it's like, and it's like I don't know. It is the that question is always there of like of her not trusting people. Is that the right call? Would these people are kind and helpful? But you're like, but you are constantly reminded this is the apocalypse. Like this is there's zombies. Law is going to break down and fall apart. Government's gone. Like kill or be killed in some cases. And maybe Quinn is right. You're like, maybe Quinn is actually right. Maybe we should not trust any of these people. And like, to be fair, like everyone have flaws and everyone has even like in normal life. And then you're like, well, maybe in Apocalypse it's going to be elevated, and maybe she's not wrong to not trust some random man she found at a botel, which I do love. I do love the term botel. I've never heard that before. I really
Oh
like that.
yeah, the Botel, that's a real place.
I figured.
There's a Botel. These are all places where I grew up, actually. I grew up along the Illinois River, and so every place that's mentioned is a place that's close to my heart. So I loved writing about the Botel.
But I do like the botel. We have Florida also has, boat up places where like, and they're
Yeah.
typically are accessible by, mostly accessible by land as well. They will also have like docks just for like people who live on our chain of lakes here in Central
Mhm.
Florida and want to go to the bar on their boat instead of
Yeah.
in their car. And you're like, okay, drunk boating is not any better, but all right, guys. Um, it's, but I don't know that I like that. I again, it is a thing where I go, well, I don't. We are on the this podcast, and I am on the record that sympathetic characters are kind of overrated. I want a compelling character. It almost kind of reminded me of like if Frank Castle, the Punisher, was in the Post Apocalypse. What would he do? I think he's this will give our listeners something about Quinn. I think Frank Castle, the Punisher, is a softer, gentler person than Quinn is. I think.
Dang.
At least I'll say at least like the guy that's in the new Spider-Man movie, I think is a softer character than Quinn. There's different
Yeah.
versions of the Punisher. There's different versions of the Punisher, and I don't. Most people are familiar with the newest version, of the TV slash, you know, now in Spider-Man. That guy. I've read
Yeah.
a lot of Punisher comics where he is worse than Quinn. Quinn is a nicer person than Frank Castle. Um,
Yeah. You know, it's funny how different people react to Quinn because I have people in my DM saying, "Wow, what a badass. Like I love her. She's my queen." I have people who, you know, light up the reviews and say, "Ooh, this was a, I hated her and I never want to read another thing about her again." It's like, well, um,
uh,
and
strong
then there,
feelings are good. Strong
yeah,
feelings are good.
that is exactly what I I'm glad people have strong opinions about her, and it's it's always fascinating for me to hear those reactions because I think, and this might be the therapist in me a little bit, but like I
Right.
feel like your reaction to Quinn says a lot about where you are in your own journey, and that's fun
She's
for me to
she's a bit of
hear.
a Rorschach test. She's a bit of a, she's that a cloud floating through the sky. And what does that cloud look like? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I don't. I just want her. My base test for any characters, like, are they interesting? Am I following that? Like, she's the main character. Like, that's all I care about. Like, I don't. It's not. I am. I think and like, yeah, she is also a badass. Like, she is. But I think it. I have gone through that journey of like thinking, oh, this character is so good at killing, and that's awesome. And then you're like, wait a minute, John Wick just murdered 35 people. Like that is like it's just brutal. Like if the
Yeah.
Punisher kills hundreds and hundreds of people, you're like, it's like those are, and they're like, what do they do to deserve death? Like they're like, you're not, like, and like there's certain characters that I will not spoil in the book where I'm like, maybe Quinn, that's a little strong. I don't know if you needed to do all that stuff for that,
Yeah.
but that's part of the fun. That's the question of like, well, I want to know what she'll do,
Mhm.
and like that's, I don't know, that is again how you push narratives around the post-apocalypse is like, well, it says something both about humanity. Like that's why I think we're attracted to stories about the post-apocalypse, where it's like, oh, where without law, how do we behave, and who survives, and who's good at it, and what does that say about us as people if all the kind, gentle people quickly get murdered?
A
when now
hundred
there's
percent.
when there's no law, what happens?
Right. Right.
Okay, question, and this is more mechanical question, and it's a question I always ask people when it jumps out at me, but the action in the book is very, very good.
Oh, thank
And it
you.
in a way that like I struggle with sometimes in action in my books when I'm writing, and I think it's a difficult thing to do for certain people. We're just not good at it, and it's a thing you have to get better at. And it's because it's like it's very clear. I always know exactly what's happening. I know the stakes of an action scene, and I think this is the thing that people don't. I think I at least I think I have picked up, and I think that this book does. You understand very, I don't know, implicitly, or maybe you had to work at it really hard. But an action scene is another form of dialogue. It tells you enough. It tells you about a character, how they behave, how Quinn stabs somebody is, or how she lays out a plan of action is just about as much tells us as much about her as a long soliloquy would. Um,
Mhm.
so it's you have very really clear descriptions and understanding of space and cause and effect, as this character does this to this zombie to another character, and then domino effects of things happening. How do you do it? Tell me.
Oh my
Is
gosh.
there a formal process? Is it just like, no, I just think it, I choreograph it in my head, things like that?
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That's a really sweet compliment. Um, I wish I could tell you the play-by-play of how I do it, but I will just tell you how it works for me. Um, I will read a scene over and over and over and over again, and I will try to read it with fresh eyes. And if I can, if I can play it like my head, if I can play it in my head like a movie, I know I have it right. If if I can't see it and like turn it around in 3D, I know I don't have enough on the page yet. And if I'm confused, I know there's too much. And so I try and narrow the scene down to only the things that need to be visible, cancel out everything in the background, and and yeah, get as much detail as I possibly can to be able to see it in real time like a movie in my head. Is that, I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but
I
that's
mean,
how it
that's
works.
it. That means it's a good answer because it's all you can do is say how it works for you. I mean, that's the thing about, again, everyone's answer is going to be very different, and it's all I think part of what I struggle with is like I get frustrated with it. Like it's a puzzle that I can't solve, and I just want to like smash it against the wall until it works. And you're like, that's not. You have to be It's patience.
Yeah.
Patience of the thing I struggle with is like, no, I have to be willing to sit in a scene for a very long time and make it hammer at it until it is clear and the action is concise, but still delivers the demands of what needs to happen to drive the story forward of this character. What happens needs to happen to a character in this scene, like they get stabbed or something. A lot of
Yeah.
stabbing. Hey guys, if you like stabbing, we've had a couple books that a lot of stabbing. This is I think number one most stabs I've had in a book for the
Wow.
podcast so far. Number one stabbing. A lot of stabbing. So much stabbing. Well, I mean, it's partially because the sound element. If sound wakes,
Mhm.
I think, which is very clever. Get away from, oh, guns are going to rule the post-apocalypse. Well, not if every time you fire a gun, you're going to have 50 zombies on top of you,
Right.
unless you
Yeah.
have, I guess, a lot of ammunition. But maybe that's my final question is, so three book, is this a planned trilogy? Is this yeah, is this set in stone? There's going to be three?
Um, okay, so insight into the publishing industry, right?
Right.
Uh, when when I was initially self-publishing this, I had three books in mind,
Okay.
and I have three books written. So the first
Okay,
book, of
good.
course, If We Survive the Night. The second book, If We Survive What Saved Us, is coming out on April 6th, 2027. Um, and then I have a third book written. However, my publishing deal was a three-book deal for book one in the series, book two in the series, and an untitled book to be determined. And so when I sat down with my publisher and we talked about like what should our strategy be, what comes next after the first two books, there is a slightly interconnected standalone that will be the third book in my series. Or not in my series, I'm sorry, the third book in my contract. So I have the third book in the series done, ready to go. I do not yet have a contract for that book. So
Got it.
we'll see if that happens. And if it doesn't happen, I will find a way to get that book to people. If I have to, self-publish it, we'll try that. Um, but for right now, there are three books in this series, and I'm really excited for people to get to the end of that trilogy and see what happens.
The writer brain in me is already going like, what is she gonna do? It's always like, I mean, it's like because there's only so many options. Like again, I also have seen many zombie stories. I've seen a lot of post-apocalyptic stories.
Mhm.
Which path are we following? You know, which of those myriad little skeins are we going to chase down? And what happens to Quinn? Is she going to become a nice person and die? Is she going to become an more evil person and succeed? Is it somewhere in the middle, a nice healthy compromise? Probably not, because it's a post-apocalypse. But
I
I am interested to see which of those things happen. You know, it's like, well, what happens? You don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, you
I
know,
will
but no one
say,
else
I mean,
does.
I do. There's one other person who knows, and it's my agent.
Ah,
So there, I obviously I won't give any spoilers, but
right.
um, I think if if you saw Quinn as a little bit one note um, throughout the book, you will definitely see character development. You will see her stay true to herself, but everyone is capable of, I don't want to say, everyone is capable of change, but
Right.
it's not always the change you expect. So I don't know if that's vague enough, too vague. It's gonna be good, I promise.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. I mean I quite enjoyed it if we survived the night. I didn't know I knew nothing going in. I keep my I go into blind in most of the books that I'm reading
Yeah.
for the podcast. I look up nothing. I go, oh well, this is who the person I'm interviewing with. It doesn't help me. Like it doesn't. I'm not gonna get like more from it if I know I'm gonna read it. So just going blind, and I think I don't know. That's it's a hard thing to pitch to people sometimes when you're like, I don't watch trailers for movies either. I literally just watch. I know like oh what's like the very broadest spectrum of the thing, but it makes the experience better. I don't know anything about I didn't know that I did not know that it was going to be we're going to start in a school for trouble girls. I
Hmm.
was like oh I like this. I like
Here
all
we
the
are.
this little cast. I like them all. Um, I mean,
Oh.
for as long as as long, yep. Oh no. I mean, no,
Oh.
I guess I didn't like. There's certain ones you're not. I don't. They're kind of annoying. You're not supposed to. Which I think is a fun. It's a really fun. A fun thing in the book as well. I will mention before we move on to the next segment is where I go, that person is really annoying. Well, I'm glad they're dead. And you're like, that's a horrible
Mm.
thing to think. You shouldn't think like that. Just because someone's mildly annoying, they deserve to die? No, no, that's that. But when you're in the apocalypse and you're like, they might kill us because they're too loud. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Isn't that the
you
fun thing though? Because I think the interesting thing about Quinn as a character is that she can kind of force you to think in ways that you wouldn't normally think like out there in the real world, but all of a sudden you're in her head. I mean, it's a first person narration from her perspective,
yeah.
and all of a sudden,
I think it has to be. I don't think this book works. This book doesn't work if it's
yeah,
third. I think first person is. It has to be first person.
totally agree. This was, and I think it had to be present tense too. Like I think you needed to be there with her in the moment, every moment. And so
It may,
that was
and
a deliberate
it,
choice.
it makes all the kills really upsetting. I will say it adds a little degree of like, oh, that's a little more icky because like it's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And I don't
happening
think I
now.
would, yeah. And I don't think I would quite classify this as body horror. There are moments that are kind of like, ugh. Um, but
It's pretty
yeah,
gory. I don't.
it's
It's
a
I don't
little
know. Like
gory.
that doesn't. I mean, it's. I feel like. I mean, it's marketed as YA, but my idea now is just it's mostly just the age of the protagonist at this point. It's nothing to do with how much gore. There's plenty of gore in this book. A lot of
Plenty of
again,
gore. Yeah.
lot of stabbing. If the stabbing is a max, feels like max capacity of people getting stabbed with many different things. Even
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's her weapon of choice that
I
made that
I,
decision.
I do like a machete. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of a machete. That's a good horror movie weapon. All
Super
right, we're
versatile.
gonna. I don't know about that. It's good at cutting and stabbing, and that's about. I don't. It's not. You're not gonna sew with a machete. You're not gonna mend a like a. If you have like a tire in your car, you're not gonna inflate a tire with a machete.
That's true. That's true.
It's versatile as a weapon, perhaps. Yeah, if it has
Yes.
the D&D tag on it, you can one hand or two hand a machete. Let's move on to the second segment. Everyone can go get If We Survive the Night. I'll say that one more time before we move on. It's out tomorrow or today, or it's out or it's already out. Those are your options. It's probably out. Most people don't listen to this the day this drops, so it's out. Go get it. And watch for the sequel in April. You said right?
Yes.
April. Um, Time for the second act for broader bookish questions and writing questions. And the first question is from our last guest, Jennifer McMahon. And her question for you is, what is the book you are most afraid to write?
Oh. What is the book I'm most afraid to write? That's a great question. I okay, I will say book 4 in this series. Um, I'm not planning on there being a book 4. I'm kind of afraid that I'm going to end the series and then people are going to say, "We want more." And like what a privilege, right? Like I hope that happens. But then I'm I'm afraid, and this was true after I finished the first one, after I finished the second one, and it's true for after I finish the third one. I don't know what's next. So um, it scares me that someone would ask for a fourth book in this series, and that is the book I'm afraid to write. That was a great question.
It's a Jennifer is a very smart person, a great writer, and I'm going to steal this question and use it in the future for more people because it is a very good question. Because most writers do have that book,
Hmm.
whatever it may be, and it might be just the thing that. And yes, it's a just be careful. Don't be Robert Kirkman and have
Oh
The
gosh,
Walking Dead be the Walking. I mean,
yeah,
he
that's
did.
the
He did.
fear.
He did end it. I will give him credit for that because he could have kept that comic going forever,
Hmm.
and he stopped. But I read all of it, and I'm good. I don't. Thanks, Rob. I got it. I don't need all this. That's a lot of zombies.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't want to overstay my welcome in the space and not do it justice. That's
I
the
mean,
fear.
it's also like I don't know. There's you want success, but you also want freedom to pursue any kind of story. You want, and it like, oh, if you don't want, no one wants to be pigeonholed. No one wants to tell the same thing forever, even if it is successful. Like it's a again a good problem to have, but it is a problem. It's
Right.
another thing you have to fix. Um, Question I ask everybody: who's the writer more people should be reading?
Okay, I did come prepared for this
Okay, good,
because
excellent,
I'm a fan of the show and I knew this question was coming. I have three actually, and I have visual aids for the listeners who are
excellent.
watching.
I love
Okay,
it.
so my first one is Kate L. Mary, and she has written one of my favorite zombie series of all time, the Broken World series, and I have that here. She's also a fabulous dystopian writer, and The Golden Cage is one of my favorite dystopian books of all time. So Kate L. Mary is my first one. And I know Donna Taylor mentioned this in her episode already, but I agree with her that Sylvester Barzy is an author that more people should be reading. Dead Soil was excellent. And then the third on my list is going to be Laura Senf. So she is well known already. She's a Bram Stoker Award winner. She wrote The Clackety, which I read recently, and it's middle grade horror, but I feel like this like healed part of the little girl in me. I loved reading this book, and her book Unnamed Bones just came out, and I have not read it yet, but I'm so excited to read this. It's next on my TBR. So Laura Senf Is it Senf or Senef? I hate that
Simp,
I don't
I
know that.
believe.
Oh, I really should have looked
I've
that up
never,
before.
I haven't met her, but I've heard multiple people also people have recommended her prior, and Synth, I believe.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think is the
I
right way to
hope
say her
so.
name.
I hope I said it right.
I've seen unnamed bones all over my feed, so it's
Hmm.
the I just don't have time to read anything.
Yeah.
It's my TBR is maybe 1,000 books. It's just
Oh my gosh.
it's so many. It's a lot of books. I'm never gonna read
Yeah.
them all. I don't have time. I'm sorry. I have to read the books for this podcast, and I want to read. I have to read my own books to edit them, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's a good answer. I like that. Thank you for visual aids. Anyone listening to this who thinks they're going to be on the show, having the books at the ready, that's so makes my life so much easier. I don't have to. I have to go find all these books after the fact and put links and things. It's sometimes really hard. People don't have. I don't know how to spell people's names. I'm like guessing at what the books look like. It's thank you for just that's
Happy
just
to
for
help.
me. I don't. Yeah. Um, we'll do another oldie but a goodie. What's the best piece of advice you followed?
Best piece of advice I have followed. I'm going to be really honest with you. I haven't followed a lot of advice that I've gotten. And
That's fine.
that's not to say I haven't gotten good advice because I have. I've gotten advice that works well for other people. But I'm kind of just like a very single-minded, like sit down at the same time in the same place every day and just write kind of a person. Um, with that said, I have had a really excellent teacher along the way. Her name is Kay Daly, and she was the editor. She's been editing my work since I was writing nonfiction, so way back when. Um, and she came with me into fiction and edited a lot of my work. And she gave me so many craft tips. She helped me really understand um, the craft of writing, and the way that she gives feedback is so helpful in that she doesn't just correct you, she teaches you. She's like, hey, this is what you should have done instead, and here's why, and here's what it does, and why don't you try it. And that method of teaching while editing, I think it's not a specific piece of advice, but man, okay, so here's that advice. Maybe get an editor who doesn't just edit but also teaches. That's
A good
nobody
editor,
gave me that advice, but
a good a good editor or editorial voice, even someone who's not necessarily an quote unquote editor, but someone who is improving your work and can critique it, but critique it constructively,
Mhm.
is worth their weight in gold. They're
Absolutely.
not necessarily easy to find, and sometimes when you find them, they're very expensive. But that's you have to pay people for their job. You don't free labor is there's limits to free labor.
100%.
Um, where do you write and why do you write there?
Yes, I write in my office, which I'm sitting in right now at my desk in Microsoft Word. It's just very basic, bare bones. I actually wrote most of If We Survive the Night at my kitchen table, like the kitchen island or whatever, in the mornings before work. But once I moved to writing full time, I am at this desk every single day.
Okay. So this is the follow up question I usually ask about people: is there are there any sacred and or cursed objects in the vicinity that help you write that you
Sacred
can
and
that
or
you
cursed objects.
that they or just like little widgets that you like to toy with when you're tinkering?
I don't think so. I do always have a notebook open next to my my computer, just because I will, want to jot down a name that I want to be able to reference quickly without having to scroll all the way back up in the manuscript. And I'm sure there's software for that, but I don't have it and I don't want it. So um,
Okay. I mean, I can proselytize when you're like, oh, I use Word. I'm like, okay, I won't like if you want to. I can.
no, I don't. I
I
don't.
okay. I have
I like to keep it
solutions.
simple. I'm
I
sure.
simple does not. I mean, simple is. I agree. Simple. I use Scrivener. Scrivener is also very simple, but it's much
Mhm.
faster than Word docs and tabs and all that nonsense. But
Yeah.
I and it's
Tabs. Who
what
uses tabs? Just kidding.
I there's again, people have all these different weird systems. Like
Yeah.
Word doc is not weird. There's plenty of people just writing Word, and it's unlike honestly, if like people go, I don't know how to start. I'm like, if you have Word, just write in Word. If you have Google Docs, use Google Docs. Use the thing you have. Don't spend any money. But after you, if when it becomes at least you want it to be a career is when you're like, oh, I'll try other things that will make me more efficient, which is really why I have latched on to Scrivener. It makes me more efficient. I can write faster and
I've heard,
find the thing you said about like finding things. It's a much faster system than sorting through a bunch of different Word documents or whatever.
yeah, yeah. No, I've heard great things about Scrivener. I'm very, I don't know what you call it, but I write the story A to Z in order, one giant Word document. I don't put like sections. I'll do like a page break between chapters, but everything is one block of text. And I
This
just
is the
like it that
okay.
way.
I take back everything I said. You're a crazy person. This is not one giant block
I
is
mean, it's like
crazy.
indented and all of that. Like I can find
Well,
things using
of
Control
course
F.
I don't expect that. I mean, of course there's you're putting grammar in, but it's like it's still like that's so it's a giant. I mean, it's not a giant file, but it's a relatively large doc, like Word doc. So it's like you're
Yeah.
please tell me you're backing all this up, please, because that's the other problem. If you
Yes.
have one giant file, if you lose it, you lose everything. If you
Yeah.
lose one chapter, oh, I'll just rewrite it. But you write 70,000 words and then lose it, I'll just go jump off a cliff.
Yeah, I do save in multiple places. So I'm saving on my desktop, I'm saving in the
Okay.
cloud, and I also send it to myself via email. I also send it to my husband via email, just in case anything goes wrong. And I start a new document every time I go through it. So I have like version 1, version 2, version 85. I don't have 85 version 2,
Version
but
final for real
version
this time.
final for real this time, final. Um, but it really is just very simple and straightforward with me, and I like to keep it that way.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm
It's just
I am the I Scrivener should pay me for how much I proselytize. I the good I here, let me preach you the good word of Scrivener and how much it makes I know remember what I said about being impatient.
Mhm.
I want everything at my fingertips at all moments. I don't want to have to go search for stuff.
That makes sense. To each their own.
I'll whittle you down. Eventually, I'll get you. Let's see. Week. That's not. We've already done that. I was gonna ask this. I think this is appropriate for after reading If We Survive the Night. What is the most disturbing book you've read in the past year?
I also figured this question was coming, and I've listened to a lot of your shows.
Good, thank you. I
I
appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Um, I have to say, and I think Cassidy Van Gundy just said this answer, but it's true. It's got to be Tender as the Flesh. I was so disturbed by that book, and it was a good book. I don't have bad things to say about it, but I will say that after I finished it, I was so disturbed by it. By the way, I've been a vegan for 20 years, so
Well,
I
it's
was
preaching to the choir.
yeah, I was so disturbed by that book that I did not want it in my house. I gave it to my friend Megan, and I said, I never want to see, like, this is not a loan. This is a gift. I don't want this in my house. I'm so bothered by this book. And I think that's when you know it was impactful. It probably did exactly what it was supposed to do. But I won't be reading that book again. It was great. I
You
hated it.
say that.
And I loved it, and I hated it.
You say that in 10 years from now, you might go, I need to read it again. Because I
Oh,
want to write something, maybe you want to write something adjacent to it, or you want to capture the same tone, and you're like, how do they do that? And you read it again, and
man.
you're like, I'm ready to be. Maybe you're ready to be hurt again. Is really the answer. Because sometimes that happens to me. You're like, I'm ready. 10 years from now, I'm ready to get my heart ripped out of my body again.
You know what? You might be
Uh,
right because I remember when The Ring came out, watching that in the theater, and thinking to myself, I'll never watch that movie again. And a couple decades later, it was like, okay, I like you said, I'm ready to get hurt again. And I watched it again, and like it was easier, you know, later in
I
life.
love I there are certain books I read every year and certain books that
Hmm.
I will go, I don't need to read that ever again. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't really keep I don't keep most of my books at this point. I give them to a friend. I'm like, I read it and I like, even if I liked it, I'm like, I have a limited amount of space in my house, physical books at least. So I
Yeah.
like ebooks. You can have a lot of ebooks. Um, let's see. Let's do one more question. You've kind of hinted at it. I'll ask this. What is a practice that helps keep your writing momentum going?
Uh, Not skipping any days. And I know that that sounds very regimented, but I am very regimented. And it's not going to be advice for everybody. But I like to make sure that I'm sitting down and writing something every day. If it's not, 2,000 words, it's, 500. If it's not 500, it's 300. But just sitting down and doing something is important for me for keeping the momentum.
Or that includes weekends? That's 7 days a week?
Seven
Okay.
days a week. Yeah, it's every time. And I do it the moment I get out of bed, almost the moment I get out of bed. It's after I take out the dog, I come in, I sit down, and I just start writing with my coffee. It's the first thing, and then it's out of the way for the rest of the day.
There's nothing wrong with that. I used to do that, and then on just weekdays. I don't do weekends anymore
Yeah,
unless there's something pressing
right.
and I need to get it done. And then I'm like, well, I'm working every day until it's done, I guess.
Yeah.
But we'll see how I haven't had those harsh deadlines in quite some time. We'll see as things change, as publishers go, we need this, and I go, okay, time to work,
And
time to
and we're
crunch,
back. Yep.
and it's time to crunch. Um, what is your question for our next guest?
I would love to know. It always I I love to hear writers talk about the things that make them proud. So I would want to know from the next author, what are you most proud of when it comes to your writing career?
Okay, that will be Rachel Harrison. So that will be an
Oh,
interesting
no
question.
way. Wow, tell her I said hello. What an
Okay,
honor.
I'll do that.
She has no idea who I am.
I mean, she barely knows who I am. We met very briefly. We met very briefly at StokerCon.
Oh,
Uh,
that'll be a great
but
interview.
I've been I've been wondering on the show for quite a while. So now, like,
Yeah.
she has and I love Groundhog Day, so I'm really excited to read. What slit? Yeah, I've already forgotten the title. I get mixed up the title, but it's the wedding of recursive book. But that's all. That's what because there's a wedding cake on the cover, and I know it's a Groundhog Day story. I'm just like, it's the wedding
Yeah, I'm
time
picturing
loop
it, but
story.
I'm not. Yeah.
Well, yeah, something slay repeat.
I kind of want to look it up on my phone now,
It's
but
fine.
I don't.
Everyone is screaming at their phones because again, it's Rachel Harrison. She's very popular. Everyone knows that book already. Everyone is like, Robbie, you idiot. It's this, and I go, it's fine. I don't.
Just like
It's not gonna
edit
hurt me.
yourself later. Put it in post.
No, I don't do that. It's okay. I'm an idiot. It's okay. People, it's like I don't know if people understand this. How many books I see on Bookstagram every day? How many I'm so that is a great question for her. But we can move on to our final segment, the segment we end every show with. It is time for blood. It's time for struggle, for hardship, for toil, for trouble. Because we all face it, and it could be about anything related to writing, or not even could just be life stuff that because life writing is life. What do you have? What's on top of mind?
I was hoping that when by the time you asked me this question, I would have a good answer for it. I I'm going to be honest with you, Robbie. I have had a really great year. It it has been personally, like
Yeah,
outside in the world, like I look around and I
it's
think,
not. No, it's
whoa,
very bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whoa. But in my personal bubble, like I don't know how all of this stuff keeps happening to me. Like the other day, I was at breakfast with my husband and we like walked out and the sun was shining. And I was like, man, don't you just love summer? And he goes, you sound like you're from the Disney Channel. Don't you just love summer? And like it's been an inside joke between us for the last month or so. Like I'm just deliriously happy with how things are going right now. And I'm sorry to like rain on that. Like I'm sorry to not have a
You're
great
you're
answer
allowed
for
to be
this, but
happy. You know
I'm
what?
so happy
It's
right
don't
now.
you're allowed to be happy. It's okay. You don't have to apologize for that.
No, but things are going
That's
good.
yeah. I mean,
It,
well, it's of course it is. Yeah. I mean, you have a we are like I don't know. I think that's the it is I as of this podcast now I can officially say I have an agent, and that was the thing I was trying to get for a very,
yes.
very long time. And it does I am still like in the honeymoon period where I'm like very happy and celebrating. But there will be a time I know in the near distant future where again we'll have doubt rise up. And I mean, it's already like in there as I'm editing my manuscript, it's always like, is this going to work out? Am I going to get to the next thing? And there's always going to be more. And this your book is coming out so soon, and you're in promotion mode, trying
Yes.
to sell it as much as you can and appear on podcasts and that stuff. And you're all like working on future books, and you have a deal, so it's like, but there's always going to be stuff in the future looming. It's not bad to be like, no, I'm happy right now. Like I'm basking in contentment. That's okay to do. I don't think that's a bad lesson for people is when something good happens and like, I think it is a reminder that we, if you're like, if you have books out at any kind of way that they're being published, you've done something really hard. You should be very proud of that. And
Yeah.
you shouldn't let it you shouldn't let other problems with publishing or writing make you depressed. It's okay
Yeah.
to be happy.
I feel like I feel like I it took a long time to finally get to where I am today because I spent a lot of time in a career that I spent a lot of time questioning whether I had made the right choice. And I went through a couple of years where I just went through job after job after job and, hoping maybe I'll love this one. No, I don't love this one. I'm going to quit. I'm going to try this. No, I don't love this one either. And like, this wasn't for me. And what am I doing with my life? And it wasn't until I finished this novel and self published it back in 2024 where I finally felt like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is where I should be putting all of my energy and all of my focus. This is all I want to do. And it took me, I was like 39 back then. It took me like 39 years to get to that place of wondering, like, what was I made for? Like the Billie Eilish song. What was I made for? And I feel like I finally am in that spot, and I'm gonna hold on to that joy as long as I possibly can. And that's where I'm at.
I mean, you should do that. I mean, there's a question of like, I mean, I've published so many books, and people at a certain point, like, in at a certain point, people are like, well, how are you going to celebrate this one? And I'm like, it's not, I don't do that anymore. Like, I'll have a slice of cake or something. Like, it's like I'll have a treat. But it's like
Yeah.
I don't have I'm not gonna have a party. I have 17 books. I'm not gonna have a party every time. It's ridiculous. I write a lot of books. I'm not gonna, and it's like, well, you should celebrate your achievements. You've done something really meaningful, and I think having an agent and working on my book to get it ready to go on sub to editors, it is crystallized in my mind like me celebrating is continuing to do the work. That is the celebration because I enjoy it. I
Yes.
really, it is more than anything. I enjoy, and it is a privilege to do this, right? To sit down in my day's work is to make these chapters make sense in a row. Like these 6 chapters in a row
Yeah.
need to make sense from one after the other. How do I do that? And that is it's you mentioned the outside world, which obviously things are always bad,
Mm,
even though I would
yeah,
argue
things
that
are rough.
things are rough, but also things are great compared to hundreds of years ago when people didn't live past 35, which is that's a different argument, different that's a different discussion about like
Context, yeah.
yeah, different about that. But I am that is the celebration. The celebration is getting to do this. That is how I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate by editing, right? Like that's my like yeah, I bought myself a nice bottle of whiskey, but mostly I'm going to be working on this book, and that's
Right.
the celebration. And
Yes.
it's and I don't I don't I think that it took me years to figure this. It took me years to get here. But I mean, I feel anyone out there who's like, oh, I don't, I celebrated, but now I feel like, well, the celebration is just continuing to write. It's continuing to do the work, right? That's the you're continuing to do that. That's I don't like. There's no party big enough that is going to make you go, oh, I've made it. There's always going to be another hill to climb. There's always going to be another achievement. Like we're all very driven people. Like we mentioned earlier about how hard we work. So it's like I that has been my mindset recently. And I think you going, I don't have any problems. I'm like, well,
I didn't
it's
say
it's
that.
yeah, exactly. But you've been you did say you had a good year. You had a great year
Yeah.
even. And I
Yeah.
would agree. You are it is good. Yeah. Your book you got picked up by a traditional publisher. You have a deal. Like that's all great stuff. And
Yeah.
it is good. Like there will be things on the horizon. There will be challenges because it's publishing, and like no one has a blessed career forever.
True.
Mostly. I'm not gonna say
Mostly.
double cross. I'm crossing my fingers for everyone who's just listening. Um, it's okay for you to go. I don't have any problems. I mean, I'm glad. Honestly, I'm ready for a change of pace. We've had lots of people with like really dire things lately, and I'm like, it's nice to just say, yeah, that's been good. Things are
Yeah.
great.
I mean, I wouldn't say there are no problems, but I'm definitely in like celebration and optimism mode right now. That's my focus. Just like hoping, I know this book is, I believe in it. I love it. I can't wait for people to see it. And that's where I'm going to choose to live for right now. And
Yeah,
thank goodness I get
that's
to be
good.
there.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good place to be. Before we go, well, okay, it will provide maybe a little bit of a challenge for this, but we're gonna do it anyway. Before you go, I want you to manifest something for your near
Mhm.
to intermediate career. You speak it aloud, and it's gonna happen. So, what do you want?
Mhm. Oh my gosh, this is so easy. I would love for this book and this series to be a television series or a movie. I, oh gosh, I would do just about anything to make that happen. It would be a dream come true. That's it.
I mean, I- it's very. I think it will now. I
Oh,
think
thanks.
that's that's what we do. That's what we do here. I would say that it's
It's a
quite
big
possible
wish.
because it's. I would. It is a big wish, but it is very. I would say it's filmic. I would say your story is filmic. It's very. It's adaptable. It is. It's fast paced. It is. It gives. I don't know. It has a cast of characters who'd all be like young female actors who would, that is, and you're like you're the blender pitch for this is Walking Dead meets Yellow Jackets, which are well-known popular properties. You could easily
Mhm.
there easily could be some film or TV agent, manager, producer who sees that and goes, "Yeah, zombies are back, right? Yeah, let's do it.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Thank you so
It's
much.
gonna happen. See, exactly. Before we go, where do you want people to buy if we survive the night, and where can they follow you on social media?
Yes. I always think it's fun to pick this book up from your favorite indie bookstore. It's a fun experience to, go in, and if it's not there, to request it. Libraries are a great place to request If We Survive the Night. It's also going to be available from major retailers There is actually a special edition of this book. There's an exclusive edition coming out from Walmart, and it's got an alternate colorway. So the original cover, for those of you who are not watching but just listening, the original colorway is kind of like a green lime green combo. The exclusive edition from Walmart is pink, and it actually has a bonus short story in the back of it that has never been seen by anyone. I didn't even show my closest friends. My husband hasn't read it. Nobody's read the bonus short story. And I will say this, and it's not a spoiler. Um, for one of the most common questions that I've been getting from my readers is, what happened on that casino cruise ship? Like, how did that situation come to be? The short story explains everything. So I will leave it
I
there.
that's I mean that I went, oh, okay. That's like that is I do. I mean, I think that's. I mean, World War Z worked because it was all these side stories of like
Mhm.
all these small characters. Like, what is a weird little thing that happened? And like again, when you create a world like this, you can just populate it with like, which is again how you could end up writing a book 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 forever because you're like, oh well, there's basically infinite amount of stories to follow different people. What happened to them? All that. Social media. Where can they follow you?
Yes, I primarily stay on Instagram, but I dabble in TikTok occasionally. It's where you see more of my like unhinged videos where I just like go and drop a test and see if it catches on. And if it does, I'll go post it on Instagram. So if you want to see me just like a little more unhinged than usual, TikTok is the
TikTok.
space. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for being on the show, Joe. I really
Oh, thank
appreciate it.
you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. Thank you.